cannot stand how the news has been dogging Gen Z and calling them lazy for not wanting to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of their lives. Let me put it in perspective for everybody who's a little confused here, okay? I work 5 days out of the week, 40 hours a week, okay? I do not make enough to live on my own. I would not make enough to pay rent, water, electric, and eat all by myself. I would not be capable of doing that. 20 years ago when you were getting started, you could live on your own. 20 years ago when you first started, you were able to do everything that I am now struggling to do.
There is no such thing as a career anymore. Come here, because nobody wants a career anymore. You want to know why? Because the new workforce, the new generation of workforce, they're not working for the sake of getting promoted to have a good, long-lasting job. We are all working to survive. You cannot have a career if every single day you are worried about if you're going to be able to keep your job or not. Companies are not instilling any trust at all with their workers. The last job I had, there was somebody who was working at that job for about 20 years. You want to know what happened? That company laid him off. They fired him via email on his day off.
The struggle, and we have learned from them. We listened to them and learned that y'all are just trying to sell us a pipe dream. There is nothing to hustle for, because in this economy you can't afford anything, especially at the rates these jobs are paying. And two, there's almost no job advancement anyways at these large companies, because the older folks aren't retiring, so there's nowhere to move up to. And of course that's not boomers' faults. The system is completely busted right now, and retiring is getting harder and harder, and it's going to be pretty much impossible for the rest of us.
Can you blame them when they have to deal with all of this? In the early 90s, you could leave school at the age of 16 and enter straight into the world of work. You didn't need to go into debt and get a degree. You simply would be trained at your workplace. You would start off on a low salary at first, but over the years that will slowly increase, and the longer you stayed, the more loyalty you showed, the better you would be paid and taken well care of. You could rest assured that when you retired, you would receive a nice pension for your golden years. But before reaching retirement, you had the money and work-life balance to hit the dance floors on the Saturday night, meet the love of your life, date and get married, buy a house, start a family and live comfortably with 2 dogs and a white picket fence, a nice Mercedes-Benz on the driveway, and all that being paid for and provided by one income. Yes, I said one income. And no, this is not fiction. It was reality for a lot of the older generation. You see, back then everything was attainable. House prices were 4 times your income, not 1,000,000 times your income. University was free, unlike today where you are charged the cost of a Ferrari. Community was a thing. Families would gather around Nan's for a Sunday roast, not like the plastic microwave horseshit we have now to eat while staring mindlessly into a blue screen watching some lunatics try and shove their scam courses to as many victims as possible, preying on their insecurities during these financially difficult times. Question: what do you think the average house price was back in 1990 in the UK? Have a think about it, and I will reveal the answer later in the video, and it will definitely shock you. So, what went wrong? I believe one of the major reasons why we are in the current state that we are in is because we shifted the focus away from trying to make good quality products and offer valuable services to just being solely profit driven. Now, companies aren't interested in pleasing customers and consumers. They are interested in pleasing shareholders and trying to maximize profits as much as possible. And to do that, they cut costs, use cheap material, cheap labor, tax evasion, using loopholes. And some even breach safety protocols, put their employees and customers' lives at risk. Anything to make a pretty profit. So, earlier I asked, what do you think the average house price was back in 1990 in the UK? Well, if you guessed it was £57,000, then you would be bang on the money. Meanwhile, in 2023, it was £285,000. You see, trying to live like they did in the 1990s is a pipe dream nowadays, with all the societal issues plaguing us and the increase of price for every single thing under the sun. The price of food, fuel, housing, rent, transport, and everything else. More and more people are asking, well then, what is the point in working? What is the point of working 40 to 50 hours a week when you can't even pay rent and buy good quality food and not some plastic with artificial meat? What's the point when there is no hope of starting a family, when there is no hope of buying a house for majority of people, where it takes 2 incomes to sustain a household? But don't forget, divorce rates are over 50%. There is so much nonsense happening all over the world right now. So much corruption, so much trampling on the little guy, so much transfer of wealth to a very few at the top, so much social upheaval. Employers want employees to do double the job for less pay, taxes taking big chunks out of your paycheck, no rent control, wages haven't kept up with inflation, no real prospect of retiring ever, a meager 4% annual pay rise, which doesn't even keep up with inflation, meaning you are working for less money than you did a year ago. You didn't get a pay rise, you got a pay decrease. And then you have the constant push for everyone to get a degree, to the point degrees mean nothing now. They are as common as GCSEs. While they push everyone to get degrees, they increased tuition fees, removed grants and replaced them with loans, further plunging young people into more and more debt. You stack all these issues on top of each other and then you wonder why Gen Z doesn't want to work. As I said, can you really blame them? You see, what the politicians and big businesses need to understand is nobody wants to work 40, 50 hours per week, then realize they can't even afford to buy a home or rent a decent apartment on their own on any remotely healthy budget plan. Once enough people realize that they have nothing to gain even when they work almost all the time, then they realize they also have nothing to lose, and thus begins the dystopian landscape and a spiral to hell, which is where no one is safe from. No rich CEO in their hidden bunkers are going to be safe. The French Revolution taught us this. The truth is, no one wants to work in an ideal world where money is not a thing. We all want to do things we enjoy and make a positive impact on ourselves, our families and community. But we don't live in an ideal world, and money is very important for survival in this real world. Therefore, most people are willing to work for money, but that work needs to either mean something, which 95% of jobs don't mean anything, or they need to be paid and compensated well for the job they do, so they can have a work-life balance. We all need to be incentivized to have something to work for, or else what's the point? Meaning there needs to be a major changes, starting with rent control, buybacks of council houses. There are too many empty properties in this country. Foreign investor control has to be implemented when it comes to buying residential properties, just like how Malaysia do it. Inflation needs to be brought down. Wages need to be increased to outpace inflation, so prices of houses can be 4 times your salary again. Manufacturing jobs need to be brought back. Apprenticeship programs need to be encouraged and regulated. Major companies need to be taxed and cannot be allowed to use loopholes to avoid paying taxes. Politicians need to be held accountable and answer to the people they serve. A massive seismic change needs to be made for the UK and other similar Western countries to get back on their feet again. For people to have something to work for, to fight for and defend. They need national and community pride back. They need jobs that mean something and provide and make a difference in their community, not just make select few people mega rich. As I said earlier, it's not that no one wants to work. That is just gaslighting at its finest. It's that people don't want to work for peanuts. People want a work-life balance. People want to work, earn money, pay for all their basic needs, and then have money left over to have fun with. You're not put on this earth to work all day long to make a select few people rich. Working is a means to an end, to provide yourself a life that you can enjoy.